The clue's in the name. Parodius is fundamentally a parody of Gradius. Made by the wonderful people at Konami, the game is replete with tons of other hat tips to many of their big franchises. You'll find references to Castlevania, TwinBee, that's where the bells come in, Lethal Enforcers, all sorts of stuff. I say the game is fundamentally a Gradius-style affair. It's a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up with the same mechanic. You have power-ups to collect, which cycle through the different upgrades you can choose from. Speed boosts, a secondary weapon, option, the thing that doubles then triples your firepower, shields, all the usual things. You can choose automatic or manual selection. I always choose manual because I like to get the option boosts first, but if you choose automatic, you don't have to worry about selecting your power-ups. It tends to favour the secondary weapon first, then option, and isn't a bad choice if you just want to concentrate on dodging stuff. You can play as 4 different characters, all of whom have their own abilities and upgrades. Octopus is also called Mr. Parodius. He's an original character. You can also fly the Vic Viper ship from Gradius. TwinBee is the bee character from Poppin' TwinBee that we saw earlier, and Pentaru is a penguin from Antarctic Adventure, Cave Noir, see a few reviews later, and other things. The missiles and lasers will do different things depending on which character you pick, but all have their virtues and largely follow the same idea. A lot of the enemies seem to be penguin-based, which makes it kind of strange that you can play as Pentaru, and of course the final boss in a lot of these games is an octopus. Wackiness has always been a huge part of Parodius games, and this one, which is very similar to the Super Nintendo one you may have played, has it in abundance. The famous Moai heads that always turn up in Gradius are here, but they seem to be wearing lipstick. The first level mid-boss is a flying pirate ship with a smiling cat's face on the prow, being crewed by penguins. The end level boss is the penguin pirate captain. It's as if the developers asked their young children to come up with some of these enemies, and that's to their credit, as it's clearly a childlike imagination that's to thank for the delightful antagonists. The TwinBee bells are here, and they largely have the same effects. Shooting them cycles through the bonuses that you get. You can't see the colours, obviously, but the pale one gives bonus points, the darker one gives you a smart bomb that clears the screen, and the striped one enlarges your character for a short while, allowing you to smash through enemies while invulnerable yourself. You can choose a difficulty and a starting level, but you need to beat them all from start to finish in order to get the good ending. Parodius may look like a fun time, but it gets pretty tough pretty quickly. There's quite a famous part on the second level that I, and I imagine many other people, got stuck on for a long time. You come to this narrow corridor where a sexy, scantily clad woman is stomping back and forth down that you need to somehow maneuver around. She's really tough not to come into contact with and requires nimble taps of the D-pad to nudge along in between her bowed legs. It's harder in this version than the SNES one, I think. The graphical detail is jaw-dropping, really, if you are at all familiar with the Game Boy's capabilities. They achieved all this without so much as a hint of a whisper of flicker. I'm no coder, but I've played a lot of Game Boy games, and I've no idea how this was possible. The music has a Gradius feel for the most part, but there's also a couple of happy, classical tunes in there. You get to this boss that's like 6 mouths who fire vampire fangs at you. This is hilarious in and of itself, but then the can-can music started playing and I actually burst out laughing, so much so that I instantly died. The boss music on level 2 is awesome, high energy but in a 7/8 time signature. I say this pretty much every time a Konami title comes up, but there was nobody who could compose soundtracks on a par with them. There were lots of great sound artists at developers like Sunsoft, HAL, even Nintendo, but Konami's roster was always a grade above and beyond all of them. I try to take each game individually when I score it, rather than comparing it to anything else. It goes without saying that for a game to earn a perfect score, it has to be virtually flawless. I need to not be able to find a reason to dock a title points. Of course, I need to be as objective as it's possible for one person to be, and I try to be honest, although it may come across as a little ruthless at times. However, if I can't think of anywhere that the game could be improved, then what other choice than to award a perfect score do I have? Sure, it's just one man's opinion, but I feel that Parodius is as close to perfect as you'll ever get on the Game Boy. An unequivocal masterpiece. Thanks so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts on the game down below, and if you can spare a second, give the review a quick thumbs up, it really helps out. Subscribe to the Portable Power Podcast for a new Game Boy review every day from Monday to Friday. Or alternately, new episodes of the podcast drop every Saturday and Sunday on whichever platform you get your pods. See you later on.